it was a fun time. It was, the kids were lots of fun, even when we got to be older. It wasn't like today, they busy with their dating and all that. We were one big 16-member class, so we had lots of fun. Mrs. Guile, my teacher, I have to tell this is on myself too, but she lived on the hill, as Lillian says, and she taught health. One day, Laura Bell Alberts, who was a dear friend of mine, now deceased, we were riding bikes. Well, something happened to her bicycle, so she got on the handlebars of my bike, and we came plummeting down the hill. And who should see us but Miss Gaia? So the next day in school, she proceeded to let everyone know in the class what Louise had done. So I remember that when anybody says anything about school, that's one of the first things that I remember about her.
Did she give you a hard time?
Huh?
Did she give you a hard time?
Oh no, she didn't. Miss Gaia loved me.
Graduated in '53 from the West Point High School, and they started a band here, and at that time was the first band in this area. We had 144 people in high school, and we had 46 of them in the band. So it was pretty well a big thing. And on Friday nights, we would march down Main Street with the band, and then when the march was over, we'd run back and get our football uniforms on and play football that night.
I graduated in '39, and of course we didn't have football those days. We had track and some other stuff. But anyway, our class picnic was on a Baldwin steamer, really. We took the Baldwin steamer to Yorktown, and they had a picnic, and hauled us back to school. Those days, I lived up about a mile or so from the school up Port Richmond. We walked to school, and I remember in basketball, many a time we would take a shower after, and my hair would be frozen when I got home because of walking in that ice cold weather, But the old school, public school we had, I went there for 2 years in the late 20s. They were located right by the Bogart Center today, and I went to 2 years. And I remember Miss Raines, the teacher, would come by horse and buggy at that time. And then they built the Catholic school just up a little bit in 1931. And I transferred to that school with them. And of course, the old wooden building was famous for Halloween, because they had 2 rooms. They had a woodshed and an outhouse. The outhouse had turned over every Halloween. That was routine.
We had a Catholic school up in the Port Richmond area, and the nuns taught school there back in Catholic school. And we have down the road, a number of houses down the road, and bus stops at every house. The kids don't walk to school. Well, when I was in the Catholic school, 4th, 5th grade, we used to clean the chalk pads, that you wrote on the board. Erasers. We would deliberately delay that so that we would miss the bus and we could walk home, and that was like 2.5 miles.
Growing up, we had to go a long way to get to school, about 13 blocks. We lived on 3rd Street. The school that we attended was on 13th Street, and so that was a good walk for us, which gave us some good exercise. Coming uptown, we passed all the business districts, the movie, the stores, the grocery stores, the garment stores, and drug stores, and the post office. Sometimes when you would stop at the post office in the winter times, it would warm up because it was a cold walk, and that made it interesting there because you got a new lease on your walk.
I came here to school in the 7th grade, finished elementary school and finished high school here. Well, we had a very unusual principal, a nice lady, but she was strict as could be. And it was a black man that was the janitor that took care of the school, and she would call on William for doing everything. And William would be fine, but when Miss Kate came along, we knew we'd better walk on our toes. But there's one incident that I remember very well. Pauline Clausen and Albert Robbins were a couple that had been going together, and one day they raised the window and she jumped out of school and caught on a motorcycle with him, and off they went and they got married. We'd do some funny things that maybe Miss Kate didn't know about. But I don't know, the boys were always getting into some mischief.
King and Queen had no high school for us to go to. And it was two residents over in King and Queen. They bought a bus to give us transportation to come to West Point, to Beverly Island School. And we had to pay $3 a month to Beverly Island and $2 a month for transportation. And we really enjoyed working at Beverly Island. We had a small place to play our basketball and softball. We had to be very careful not to hit the ball so hard it would hit Jake's store window, or else go over in Mrs. Lee's backyard. And we also had nice teachers there. We learned a little bit of French, geometry, English, and whatever you name it, we got it. And in the back we had a little space there we could play volleyball, and we enjoyed that. And the next door to the school was Mr. John Wesley Bray. He sold crabs. And we could go over there and get a crab for 5 cents. We enjoyed that and a soda. And we would go up to a place called Liquor Pond to play ball. And we enjoyed that just to get out of the school. And we were the first class that went in Beverly Island that had the number of 28 students. They never had that many till we went there. And it was peaceful going to Beverly Island. And we enjoyed it, and I appreciate everything that I learned at Beverly Island today.
We could ride bicycles, didn't we, Paige? Up and down the street at night and have the neatest time and walk up there to the football games and the basketball games and whatever without thinking about anything, without any fear whatsoever. See, Paige is a year under me in class. Yeah. And we just did. And it was really nice that we were able to do that. When we became juniors and seniors, we took class trips. And so what we did, we packed our lunch, a sandwich, and maybe some drinks. And the parents, we went on the Baltimore steamer, and we went to Claybank. And the parents met us there and brought us back. And we did that for 2 years. Did you ever do that, Peggy?
No, we were too poor.
You didn't do that? Mm-hmm. We did, and it was real neat.
I went to school. We never had snow days. We always went to school. If the snow was up to our knees, we walked to school. And our shoes were taken off, and our socks were dried on great big high radiators. All right. I can tell you all the teachers that were there when I went to school. I was 6 years old. In the first grade and the second grade, we had the same teacher. His name was Susie Cole. So the first grade went in the afternoon, and the second grade went in the morning. Well, I went in the first grade in the afternoon. My mother always made me take a nap, so I slept through the first grade. So I had the same teacher. All right, in the third grade, we had Miss Cornelia Hogg, and she was really tough. And we had rows of desks that had a dension for a pencil and an ink well. And I was forever getting my pigtails stuck from the guy sat behind me into the ink well. And we had little footstools, and as we grew, we could get rid of the footstools when our feet would touch the ground. So that was the third grade. Fourth grade was Miss Jeanette Bryan, and you will notice that all these are misses. And then in the fifth grade, we had Miss Violet Cleesby, In the 6th grade, we had Miss Elizabeth Hogg, who was Cornelia's sister. And in the 7th grade, we had the only married woman was Miss Mabel Guile.
That's right, and that's because she was a widow.
And so she was a widow. And we had a fire escape put on later that looked like a great big metal tube. And my mother complained because every time she ironed me a starch dress, they'd have a fire drill. When I came home, my dress was limped and I looked terrible. But anyway, they were my early days. And I do remember when I went to high school, we had May days in those days and had maypoles and all that sort of thing. We did not have store-bought dresses. A pattern was bought, and your mother either made your dress or someone else made it for you. And we just had a fabulous time.
I was caught up in the segregation part of West Point when they closed Beverly Allen High School down. And I didn't attend high school in West Point. I only went to the 8th grade. And in 1953, I stayed out of school a whole year because of the closing of Beverly Allen High School. I tried to enroll in the previously all-white school on 12th Street, but a group of the 29 of us that was left at the school went to the school, and the principal then was Mr. Humphreys. He refused to let us in.
What was that experience like, and what kind of an impact did that have on your life from that point out?
Well, from that point out, our parents were behind us the whole time. And the town had bought a brand new bus to send us to Hamilton Holmes High School, 16 miles away. But our parents refused to send us because we were residents of the town and they paid taxes here in town and they wanted us to get an education here in town. When the town refused to have a school for us, we received our education through a teacher that was living here in West Point by the name of Dolores Tuppence, and she became the first physical education teacher in Middlesex County at the St. Clair Walker High School. And she asked the authorities over there if we could come over, if she could bring some students who were out of school to that school district, and we enrolled in school over there at St. Clair Walker. And that's where I got my education from. And then it was a compulsory school law back then that children under 15 had to be in school. And I was one of the ones that was underage. And so they arrested 9 of the 29 parents in West Point. And then we had to go through the court. And that's when NAACP came in, and that was in progress here in West Point, and that helped us a whole lot to go through our struggles. Well, I feel now like I was a pioneer on the situation, but to help to get the schools integrated here in West Point. Everything was peaceful. We, demonstrated and marched on the town and everything. They sent the National Guards out to watch over us, but we didn't get any recognition here in West Point. But we were just like the little people in Little Rock, Arkansas, and Prince Edwards and everything, but West Point never did get on the map about integration part. Yes, I was confident that it would change, but I didn't know it was going to take as long as it did to change.